Hello people of the internet, my name is Eleonora and today I wanted to talk to you about Samuel Morse. Now Samuel Morse was born in 1791 in Charlestown in Massachusetts, and ever since an early age he showed a particular interest for art. And that's why when he was older he moved to the United Kingdom, in particular in London, where he attended the Royal Academy of London. Now in this academy he developed a neoclassical style and he specialized in portraits and in historical scenes. Then at the end of his studies he moved back to the United States, but at the beginning of his career as a painter he wasn't really getting the recognition he deserved, and that's why he was struggling a bit. Now you may not know this, but actually Samuel Morse is much more famous as an inventor than as a painter. We can still name a couple of his works that are kind of important. The first one is the portrait of James Monroe. James Monroe is the 5th president of the United States of America. And another famous work by Samuel Morse is called The Gallery of the Louvre. And of course, it's about the very famous Parisian museum. I feel like we all know that one. And so yeah, as I was saying, Samuel Morse is actually pretty known for his inventions. And when I say inventions, plural, I'm talking about both the telegraph and the Morse code. Well, in 1832, he went on a sea voyage. Now, this may not sound important to you, but it was important to him because during the sea voyage he became particularly interested in sending messages and sending remote messages and in electrical impulses, which was seen as a way by Samuel Morse to send these kind of messages from like one side of the country to another. That was like his idea in the first place. He became interested in these kind of things. He started studying and then he invented the telegraph. His contribution to the communication system is like fundamental, it's like fundamental. No, but it's like fundamental because thanks to him we can now use our phones and we can now call each other. Now, I wanted to tell you a couple of fun facts about Samuel Morse. Why did he invent the telegraph? As we said, he was kind of passionate about these kind of things, and so he started studying. But there was an event in his life that had a major impact on him and that really pushed him into developing this kind of machine. In 1825, so before the sea voyage, in 1825, Morse first noticed that the communication system back then was absolutely terrible. It was a disaster. In 1825, Samuel Morse was in Washington and he was working on a painting. However, while he was working, he received a letter, and this letter informed him of the fact that his wife was severely ill. And, so he wanted, of course, to rush back home, stay with his wife, and just be with her. However, when he arrived home, he found out that his wife had already been buried, and so yes, he didn't have a chance to say goodbye to her. And that was kind of like the first signal to him of how unpractical it was to send messages through letters, through paper, using paper and ink, and it was not fast in any way. So he started thinking, had I received the letter a little sooner, I would have been able to come back home quicker and to stay with my wife during the last few days. So he was like very disappointed by the communication system. That's why he started to really set his mind on improving this kind of system. And so yeah, in 1832 he went on the sea voyage that I told you about, and that's kind of like the second step number 2 into developing the telegraph. He learned about electromagnetism, which is very important, and electromagnetism combined with electrical impulses means the telegraph. The telegraph was born in 1837. So it's like 12 years after the death of his wife and 5 years after the sea voyage that he went on. Then, of course, he invented this kind of machine, and he needed to really I don't really know how to say it, but he needed to introduce this kind of technology to the people. He lived in the United States. He went to the Congress of America to show how this kind of machine worked, and why it was useful and how it could be used. And no, this is funny because the Congress was, they were very interested in this. They were very intrigued by this kind of machine, by this kind of new technology that was born. But they used it for different reasons than what we might think. In fact, they used the telegraph to send gossip to each other. And I'm not joking. They were gossiping with each other thanks to the telegraph. Which may sound absurd, but if you think about it, this is actually great. Well, not because of the gossiping, but because this really showed the Congress just how much potential this kind of machine had. And, in a matter of few years, the telegraph was like known all over the world. And, I live in Europe, and, it was brought to Europe as well. And so the Europeans were finding out about this kind of technology, and it was like spreading like wildfire. They were all very excited, we were all very excited about this. Samuel Morse is known for inventing the telegraph and also for inventing the Morse code. So about the Morse code, this again is a funny story because Samuel Morse did not understand his own code. The Morse code. We all know it, right? It's like the one based on dots and lines. However, when the Morse code was born, it was not based on dots and lines, but it was based on numbers. And this made it particularly difficult to understand. It was particularly tricky for Samuel Morse to understand something that he himself had invented, which is kind of absurd again, but that's how it is, so we just take it. So yeah, he invented this code based on numbers. This code based on numbers was particularly tricky for Samuel Morse to understand, and that's why he was helped by his assistant called Alfred Vail. Alfred Vail was able to decipher the code based on numbers, but he too realized that it was like just too complicated, It was too much to be used in like a practical way. And so he transformed this code based on numbers on a code based on dots and lines, which is like the Morse code that we know today. So that's how it was born, and it is called the Morse code, but it's actually was like kind of invented by Alfred Vail with like the contribution of Samuel Morse. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think that's how it is. Because I was doing my research, and it basically said that Alfred Vail was the one who really invented the code as we know it today, but Samuel Morse was like the one that just had the idea of a code. So I don't really know. I think it was like a contribution of both, maybe. I don't know. You'll tell me. Just say down below whatever you think, whoever you think was the real inventor. Okay. Last thing that I wanted to tell you is that in 1871, just 1 year before his death, Samuel Morse was invited to an event in New York City, and he attended as kind of like a guest of honor, you would say, because he was very popular. He was like the man of the year, the man of the century. Thousands of people were there cheering for him, just waiting for him, seeing him like just kind of like, I guess he was like a Steve Jobs, or rather Steve Jobs was like Samuel Morse, but you know what I mean, right? And so people were just like amazed by him, and they loved him, and they were very grateful to him for his inventions. The crowd just asked Samuel Morse to send one last message using the telegraph. Message said, "Greetings and thanks to the telegraph fraternity throughout the world." He just said goodbye to the world in this way, using his own invention, which I think is great. So yes, this is the video. this is what I wanted to tell you about Samuel Morse. Please let me know if you knew about these kind of fun facts and about his story. I would also like to thank you for watching my video. It was very kind of you. If you have any other ideas on what else I might, research about, please let me know. And so yeah, thank you. Thank you for staying here. Thank you for staying with me, and have a lovely day. Bye.